Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here coming at you with another trail tip, and today I want to talk to you about the navigational technique called intentional deviation. Now don't let the technical term for that scare you, but it is exactly what it sounds like. Intentional means you do it on purpose, and deviation, because it's a navigation technique, means that you intentionally take a different course than what logic may initially tell you is the correct course. And I'm going to use this made-up map that I drew out on a large sheet of paper to demonstrate that, to go from one point to another point to another point and back to the first. And 2 times I will use this technique of intentional deviation to safely return me to my campsite, which will be down here on the river, after a day of hiking up here in the wilderness. So I'm going to lay this out on the floor and put the camera right down on it, and I'll explain to you what intentional deviation really is and how it works and how it can save your life. Okay, so I've got a fictional map here that I just drew out on a large sheet of paper. I've got a river that runs from the west to the east. North here is the top, and I've got a outcropping here and a peak here, a mountain or a hill or whatever you want to say. And let's say, for the sake of this discussion, this is a heavily forested area, kind of like this, and I'm going to show a picture of it. Very heavily forested, so you really don't have a lot of long distance visuals to where you can take a bearing. So what I want to do is I want to set up my campsite down here along the river. And the next day I want to travel up to this outcropping and then up to this peak and then be back at my campsite before nightfall. So logic would dictate that I lay my camp map out, take a bearing on this peak, and then use my compass to direct me right to this outcropping. I could probably do the same thing here, but I could probably dead reckon myself across here. And then it's simply a matter of setting my compass to aim me directly south, so I can head straight south to my campsite. And let's say this is 3 miles, and this is 1 mile, and this is 3 miles back. Let's just use that for an example. Now you'll notice that when I leave my campsite, I'm going to climb and then descend and then climb again. Okay? Now I could probably dead reckon myself up here to this peak, but it's going to come down a little bit and then back up. And then on my return trip, I'm going to descend, I'm going to ascend, I'm going to descend again. I might come up a little bit and then back downhill to my campsite. That is an ideal. But people rarely, if ever, have the ability to walk in a straight line, even with a compass showing them exactly what direction to go. You tend to drift one way or the other when you, even as hard as you try to walk in a straight line, you tend to go one direction or the other. This is why people who are lost without any navigational end up technically walking in a circle. If given enough time, they will actually walk in like a spirograph, constantly retracing their steps. And this is why navigation is so important, that you need to understand that this is something that you will do. So, what I may find myself doing if I try to aim myself directly for this peak, I may end up over here, or I may end up over here, despite my best efforts, because I can't see the peak as I'm traveling. It's too heavily wooded. Remember, this is heavily forested with so many tall trees that I cannot see very far. So I have to rely on this type of navigational skill, being able to follow a bearing, but I'm going to invoke this an intentional deviation. And what I'm going to do is, instead of heading for here, I'm actually going to head for this point. This way, if I start to deviate from my path, I know I will end up somewhere between these 2 points. If I aim for here instead of here, I will find myself somewhere here as opposed to possibly finding myself over here. Because here's what can happen. Am I going to deviate from my path this way, or am I going to deviate from it this way? I don't know, because I'm trying to go this way. So I may find myself here, and I may find myself here. But let's say I actually am here, and I think I'm here. This is where I believe I'm at, but I'm actually over here. I think, well, all I got to do is make a left turn, and I'll end up here. Well, actually, I'm here, and I end up here. Now I think I'm here when I think I am here. So I have completely missed one of my goals, this. Now, because I believe I'm here when I'm actually here, I think, okay, I simply head off to the northwest, and I should come up to the peak. Well, then I start going downhill, which I think is natural, but then I keep going downhill. Okay, so now I realize something's wrong. So now I need to backtrack because I'm not sure where I'm at. Now I'm thinking, even though I'm thinking I'm here, I'm actually here. So I'm going to backtrack and say, okay, let's assume now that I'm not here, but I'm here. All I have to do is head straight south to the safety of my campsite, right? Set my compass so it takes me directly to a 180-degree bearing, and I should run into my campsite. Again, there's the problem. I start to deviate. And that deviation, whichever way I deviate, gets more and more compounded as the further I go. So once I reach the river, I might be over here, or I might be over here. I'm at the river, that's my backstop. But which way do I go? If I'm up here or over here, I have no idea which side of the campsite I'm on. This is why you want to do intentional deviation. To make this, I head this direction. So I end up in here somewhere. This way I know, once I start going downhill the second time, to reach this outcropping, I need to turn right. And again, I want to intentionally deviate from this point to reach this point. I either intentionally deviate to head this way, so when I hit the backstop of the river, I know to turn left, or I could conversely intentionally deviate and travel this way, so when I hit the river, I know I have to turn right. Because here's the problem. If I wander straight from my course and I end up over here and I don't know which side of the campsite I am on, I may start to head downriver. No, it's not there. I backtrack and go upriver. No, it's not there. How far do I go this way and how far do I go this way before I actually decide which direction my campsite is? How far do you go? How much time do you waste going back and forth, retracing your steps? Sun's going down. I'm low on supplies, the safety of my camp where I have the bulk of my food and my shelter and my water and my first aid kit and everything else back here at the camp. And I'm either over here waffling around back and forth or I'm over here waffling around back and forth. Standard or intentional deviation will take care of that. Let's say I intentionally head off this direction. I know when I hit the backstop of the river to turn right. You may think that's a waste of time, but how much waste of time is it to go back and forth over here or back and forth over here in search of your camp and possibly put yourself into a life-saving or life and death situation where you could be in a world of hurt by not engaging in proper navigation. So intentional deviation is a valid and very useful tool for navigating the backcountry. And there you have it, intentional deviation. As I said, don't let the technical term scare you. It is a very practical and a known solution to the human tendency to drift one way or the other as they're walking through the wilderness, even though they think they're traveling a straight line. Even with the best compass skills that you have, people tend to drift a little bit from their intended path. So by using this intentional deviation, you know that you're going to reach your destination safely and can prevent you from getting into what could be a deadly situation. Intentional deviation, learn it, practice it, understand it, and use it out in the field when the time is appropriate to keep yourself safe. So this is Backpack Hack. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share on my videos. I'll see you out there on the trail, and be safe out there.